Hi, I'm Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of today's newsletter is going to be finding self-worth again. Well, I got three different emails I'm going to go through with you today. The first one, young guy in his early 20s. He's got a great job that he loves, but he's really struggling in his personal life with his social skills, obviously his dating life. But the good news is he's reading my first book, 3% Man. And he's starting to notice the signs when a woman is interested in him. But he says he kind of feels like he's in a downward spiral and kind of a dark place. So he asked me what he can do to turn his life around. And the next two emails are success stories. One of them is from a guy who found my work, and he was recently divorced, 48 years old, got 4 kids, and he's thinking, who the hell wants to date a 48-year-old divorced guy with 4 kids? And the third one is a success story from a guy he's read my book over 12 times. Obviously, the best success stories seem to come from guys that just read it over and over and over again and really learn the material. And he's gotten so good and had so many great success stories with the women in his life that he's even helping and coaching his mother. After she got a divorce, she met a new guy who was really alpha, started dating, and then obviously it didn't work out. So he's helping her overcome a breakup, which is pretty cool. Now he's actually taking what he's learned from me and he's helping his mother at it. So with that said, I got a quote that I wrote, and then we're going to jump right into the first guy's email. And the quote says, "Success is a process, not a destination. Success is a result of applying the fundamentals of the science of high achievement on a consistent and focused manner, and using failure as simply part of the learning and growing process to get better. With enough time, repetition, persistence, and learning from your mistakes, you can overcome any setback or challenge and succeed like never before. Winners take action despite the risks and potential for failure, while losers make excuses and do nothing to move their lives forward. Every day, we decide to either take the required action to move our lives forward or do nothing by wasting time and avoiding life. Your life is the result of the actions you take or the actions you avoid taking. Choose wisely." So let's just get right into the first guy's email. It says, "Hi, Corey. A friend recommended that I start watching your videos on YouTube. I recently started going on this downward spiral in life. I spent pretty much all of my 20s, I want to say 21 and 22 and beyond, working, school, and going to college." Well, it's pretty much what most people are doing around that time. You're trying to figure things out. If you're going to college, trying to get through college, and then obviously as soon as you get out of college, you want to start working. Like me, what I did is that while I was in college, and you can read about this in Mastering Yourself if you want to know about purpose, drive, mission, figuring out your calling in life, I go through the roadmap of what I follow. I started working in college in my field already instead of waiting till I was done with school. And that way, when I finally finished my degree, I already had several years of experience and was a lot further along than most of my friends who went off to college, joined fraternities, maybe had some part-time jobs while they were in school, and just kind of partied their asses off, which was nothing wrong with that. I just happened to work my whole way through college because I didn't really have a choice. But I liked working, and it turned out okay for me. So it's a good way to go about things. He says, "I had zero social life in a long time and have recently been trying to escape my shell, or my cage, really, as he says. I've been rekindling old friendships and trying to get out. I have been on one date in the last 7 years, and it went horribly." At the end of the day, you got to give yourself permission to be a beginner, dude. Everybody starts out somewhere in life. I got guys that are in their 30s that they don't even start dating until their 30s. So you're at this point in your life in your early 20s. It's a matter, getting where you want to be is a matter of time and repetition and applying the fundamentals that you're going to see and read about in 3% Man. And if you're new to my work and you haven't read either of my books, whether it's 3% Man or Mastering Yourself, if you go to understandingrelationships.com, all you got to do is subscribe to the email newsletter, and you can read them for free. on your website, on my website, I should say, not on your website, my website. My downward spiral was realizing that I had no social life, no hobbies, and no romantic life at all. Great. It means you got a clean slate. You can start somewhere. I mean, when I was your age, I was working all the time. I was partying a little bit on the weekends with my friends. I had 2 jobs. I was working as a bartender at night. I initially started working as an unpaid intern for a general contractor down in South Florida. And I was busy all the time, studying, going to classes. That's okay. It's like, you can see this guy's kind of pretty hard on himself. I suck. I'm not making any progress. And the reality is, in order to feel successful in life, you have to feel like you're making progress. And that's where 3% Man can really help you out, because as you start learning the things and you start observing other people, men and women interacting especially, you start to notice the things in your book. And then you kind of feel like you have an insight, you got a lens on the world that the reality is most of the people you're going to encounter in life just simply don't have. And it makes you feel a little more confident, because you're going to start seeing things that most people never see, never recognize. And that builds your confidence. That makes you feel a little better, especially when you're just living your life and going to school and working, and you encounter women and just living your life. And you start chatting with them, making small talk, asking questions, being curious, taking a sincere, authentic interest in other people. And you're just going to notice when you do it enough that there are some girls that just like you. For whatever reason, you do it for them, and vice versa. It's like when you meet a woman that you find attractive, you don't have to go, gee, do I like this girl? Do I find her attractive? You just know, you feel it. It's instantaneous. And it's the same thing with women. When they see a guy that they like, they just like him. So you're pretty much either in or out. You're either, like I talk about in the book, on a 5 in their eyes or better, you got a shot. And if you're a 4 and below in a woman's eyes, you don't. So you don't waste your time. It's not a big deal. The reality is most of the women you're going to be interested in or find attractive, you're not even going to move the needle for them, and they're not going to care unless you're just some super good-looking dude that most girls like. And at the end of the day, being good looking just gets your foot in the door. It gets you noticed more than the average guy does. If you don't know what you're doing, you'll still fuck it up. He says, I feel like I have no backbone outside of my career. Well, you can build upon that. That's okay. The reality is you just haven't been through enough repetitions and interactions with women where you've seen success to feel good about it. You went through the repetitions in your career. You weren't bothered by rejection. You weren't bothered by mistakes. You weren't bothered by not knowing things. You just took action. It's the same way with women. But obviously, I remember when I was younger, if the average guy, if he doesn't feel very successful or confident with women, it's hard to feel like you're a man on a lot of levels, especially if you got friends that are doing well with women. And I'm almost 50 now. And when I can look back in that time, a lot of the guys that I knew that were really good with women when we were younger, it's like their lives, it didn't really help them that much. And, now that we're almost 50, and most of them are overweight and out of shape, not very happy. That's the reality for most people. He says, I absolutely love my job and struck the lottery with it. I mean, the most important thing to a man is your purpose, your mission, who you are, what you're trying to accomplish in life. And everything flows from that. A man who knows what he wants, knows why he wants it, and is going after it, that's incredibly attractive and sexy to women. So you got that part of your life handled, which is great. There's a lot of guys out there that have no idea what they want to do. And they don't do anything about it. They don't even try to figure out what they want to do. So you're way ahead of most people your age, dude. So you're beating yourself up, and it's just kind of unnecessary. You're creating unnecessary limiting beliefs and imaginary obstacles that just simply aren't there because of what you're focusing on in life. And that's where not only 3% Man can help you, but mastering yourself can help you. Because, again, I take you through my whole journey, everything I learned over the course of my life in business and career, getting the jobs I wanted. And it will really help you out if you just apply what's in there. Because I figured these things out. I learned from the best of the best. And I applied it consistently. It's like I talked about in the quote. It's applying the science of high achievement fundamentals. He says, I get along with my coworkers and customers very well, and I've been complimented many times on this by both coworkers and customers. So you already have the skills. You just need to start displaying them more on a consistent basis with the women that you meet. I'm talking about all women, not just the pretty girls that you like. I work in IT, servicing various small to mid-sized businesses in the city that I live in. I still live at home at age 29, and I'm working to save for a home of my own. And he says loser in parentheses. It's like, so what? Okay, so he's 29. He's not early 20s. Big deal. You already have good social skills. And what's good for you is just the nature of your career. If you're going to different businesses, that's a great way to grow your social life. You already have the skills, obviously. You just continue to act with other people, and occasionally you'll meet girls. And if you're applying what's in the book, you'll start to notice the ones that like you. And if you're worried about approaching them at the people you're going to, you can give your phone number out. Hey, if you get chatting with a girl and you start talking about, hey, what are you doing this week? Oh, I'm going out with my girlfriends. Like, oh, hey, here's my number. I'm going to be out with my buddies. You know, shoot me if you're out downtown, if you're out in this place, or the art festival, or the wine and cheese and beer festival, or Oktoberfest, whatever it happens to be, give me a call. Give her your number and then go about your business. Some of those women will reach out to you. He says, life feels bland, and due to the lack of hobbies and lack of interests, I feel I struggle to connect with people outside of work. Well, the reality is if you're able to connect with people at work, it's the same process of making small talk, whether you're at work or you're at the grocery store or you're at the gym or you're just hanging out with your friends. Again, you're creating obstacles that are just imaginary. And typically we do that because we're afraid of rejection. So we just avoid it and we create these obstacles and go, oh, I can't do anything about it. It's all in your head, dude. I'm also struggling now that I woke up to my problem with finding hobbies and interests. Well, that's okay. Try anything that you seem curious about or interested in. And if you don't like it, cross it off the list and keep moving on. The important thing is you got to be curious. And when something seems to be appealing to you, go explore it. Go check it out. That's how you figure out what you're into. This all started on Halloween when I was at a customer, and my primary contact, who I deal with there, gave me this ear-to-ear smile and her eyes lit up while I was talking to her about work-related stuff. Obviously, you were passionate about it. And she found that attractive. I have never had a woman look at me that way before. Again, masculinity, purpose, drive, mission, succeeding, accomplishing, breaking through barriers, overcoming challenges. That's why she finds you attractive. Hey, we should get together sometime. Let me grab your number. I'll give you a call maybe next week, or I'll give you a call over the weekend. Maybe see what you're doing. Maybe we can meet up for a drink. Pretty simple, dude. It's not hard. Her legs were crossed and pointed straight at me, and I almost went from talking to blah, 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 but lightly chuckled it off instead. I came to the realization that I cannot go through with pursuing anything due to my life feels bland problem. Again, that's just an excuse. The goal is to get better. This is a process of getting better. So what that you're just starting out at this stuff at 29? It really doesn't fucking matter. At the end of the day, it's like every day you wake up, it's like an Etch-a-Sketch. You shake it, it's brand new, create what you want. Every day we're creating our lives. Every day whatever we do or fail to do determines where we end up in the future. My dating problem is probably the result of my other social issues. Besides seeing a shrink, which I don't want to and probably cannot afford, do you have any advice for me? Yeah, take massive fucking action. Whatever you're afraid of doing, you got to do more of. If you say you're not very social, instead of sitting at home at the weekend, go out and get involved in anything going on publicly. Like just recently, there was an art fair that I went and walked around with after I had my lunch where I live. Shit ton of people out there. There's a beer or wine or cheese festival or a food festival, just anything where there's lots of fucking people. Get off your ass and go talk to strangers. That's all you need to do. Because when you interact with other strangers, it doesn't matter whether you get phone numbers or not. You're going to feel better about yourself when you interact with other human beings. So go talk to strangers. That is the best medicine for your problem. I am actively trying the online dating scene. Plenty of fish, and I was on Tinder. A bit of a cesspool, if you ask me. Well, Bumble I've found to be a lot better. Women tend to be a little more professional, a little more success-oriented. They tend to be looking more for a relationship on that. You're not going to see as many women on there that you're going to match with, but it's a, compared to the others, it's a pretty good platform. And I agree with Tinder, because Tinder, you got to do a lot of fucking swiping before you get to somebody that you like and that likes you. But with Bumble, you're going to have fewer profiles to go through, but you typically get more matches, and the quality of women is way better. But I feel my life feels bland problem is going to bite me in the ass sooner rather than later too. Again, your problem, I should say the solution to your simple problem is to go interact with other human beings and do it in the same way that you do at work. It's just about talking to strangers. I would also encourage you to go through Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People, and just take a sincere, authentic interest in other people. Make a 6-month commitment to yourself to do nothing but develop your skills of talking to strangers and engaging them in small talk and in conversations. And when that gets easy and comfortable, then you can start asking women out. There's no time frame on it. Your simple goal is to improve your social skills, and you simply do that by talking to other people. So let's go to the second guy's email, and this is a success story here. Again, you're going to see this guy lays out what his limiting beliefs were about himself. He started applying what was in 3% Man, and it fucking worked. If you just apply it, it'll work. If you think I'm full of shit, just apply the things I teach. You'll see that they work. It's free. It costs you nothing. If you just go to understandingrelationships.com, subscribe to the email newsletter, you can be reading and learning this stuff, and then go out there and see that it works. And once you start seeing the things that I teach actually work, then go buy the audiobook or the paperback one so you can highlight and tab it and make notes or whatever. And then you can get one of these nice hardcover versions and leave it on your coffee table. So he says, let's go through the second guy's email. It says, "Hey coach, I am recently divorced and have custody of my 4 kids. I was having a hard time with my emotions, was kind of in the dumps thinking, who would want a 48-year-old man with 4 kids? My buddy sent me a link to your website," and he puts in big bold letters, "It changed my life." Well, thank your friend, because he's obviously a good friend. I bought your book and the audio version of it. I have read it twice and listened to it 6 times as I commute to work. I know, 10 to 15 times. I'm still listening. Good job. There was a woman at work. She is a director of a project management. She's 5'9", black hair, piercing blue eyes, killer body. In my eyes, she's a 10. At this time, I have been practicing my communication skills. So you'll notice this guy's a little further along with taking action than the guy in the first email. He says, I signed up for a membership at Match.com using your ultimate dating profile as a template. Google Corey Wayne, how to create the ultimate online dating profile, LOL. So that's one of the things I say in the book with certain articles and videos I've done over the years that are kind of like additional information. And, it's a good way to model your profile, especially if you're on Match.com. I hear it so much in the audiobook, it's drilled into my head. I started going out on as many dates as I could, and being married for 18 years, my communication skills sucked. So I went to work. One day at work, I walked by this woman's office. She was squinting at her computer screen. I stopped, I backed up and popped my head in her door, and I said, "Hey, if you do that too much, you'll go blind." At least that's what my dad tells me. She looked up and laughed. So what's great about that, the guy's just using his surroundings. And that's all you really have to do. Made a funny little joke, totally innocent, and she laughed. Because it's actually kind of funny, because I think pretty much every kid has had a parent or a grandparent say some shit like them at some point in their life. So when you say something like that, it typically, for most people, will elicit something that they're kind of fond of. And it reminds them of childhood when things were much simpler. I walked in, sat down in a chair across from her desk, and said, "Hello, Jessica. For the past year, I have walked by your office, passed you in the halls, and not one time have we ever exchanged a hello. My name is Bob, and I would love to take you out to dinner. Can I get your number, and we can set a time and date offline?" Pretty fucking ballsy. She looked at me, kind of shocked, and said, "Sure," and gave me her number. Now, how often do you think something like that happens to her? Probably not very often. He rolled the dice. He was respectful, he was funny, he was playful, very confident. She could have said, "Hey, I have a boyfriend, I'm married, seeing somebody. Hey, well, if it doesn't work out, it was nice meeting you. Come find me." I waited a day and called her the next evening. We set definite plans for the weekend. We went out. She did 90% of the talking, twirling her hair, laughing, touching me. To be honest, I never had a woman rape me with her eyes, and it was pretty awesome. We had a great time. I walked her to a car. She gave me a hug, and I gave her a kiss, which led to more kisses. I thanked her for a great time, opened the door for her, and said good night. That evening, she sent me a text and said she has never met a man who had enough balls to do what I did. Never met a man who had enough balls to do that. And that's what's so powerful of just fucking rolling the dice. Even if you get rejected, she's going to appreciate for the fact that, wow, there are more real men in the world. To do what I did, the meeting in the office, the kiss in the parking lot, she said she can't quite put her finger on me or figure me out. In other words, you're completely different than just about every man I've ever met, and I like it. She asked me if I wanted to have dinner at her house the next evening. I agreed. You were right. Second date, indoor Summer Olympics. Date, have fun, and hook up. Rinse and repeat. Thank you, Coach. Your work had brought me out of a dark place, pulled my head out of my ass, and made me see that I am a catch and I have value in this world. I am a better man because of you. Take care and God bless. Pretty simple. Your life, you could feel like your life totally fucking sucks ass and you could have been failing for years or feeling like a failure for years. 2 dates, indoor Olympics with a beautiful woman who's a 10 in your eyes, and boom. Then you could have just broken up with somebody a few days or a few weeks or a few months before and been feeling like shit, and one experience, 2 evenings, boom, everything completely changes. And you're like, well, if I did that once, I can do it again. It's beautiful. It's simple. Complete paradigm shift in a really short period of time. So nice job, dude. So let's go through the third guy's email. He says, "Hey, Coach, I got your book a little over a year ago. And the best way to phrase what you've done for me is you gave me the blueprint to becoming the man I always envisioned myself as. I'm currently on read 16 of 3% Man. And the moment I knew when my energy changed and I understood what my center was is when I saw how everything you teach applied to literally every aspect of my life." Well, I mean, the reality is the book 3% Man focuses on pickup skills, dating skills, and relationship skills, but it really does apply to everything. It applies to human interactions, and that's why the title of my website is Understanding Relationships, because everything in life is relationships, whether it's relationships, our intimate relationships, our friendships, our relationship with our customers, our, when it comes to government, our foreign policy relationships. If you understand other human beings, if you learn the things that are in my books, you will be way ahead of pretty much just about every person you will ever meet in your life. This happened after the 12th read. I have had several successful and great experiences with women since then that reinforced what I've become, and other areas of my life are better because of my newly discovered masculine center. It was always there, it just wasn't being displayed. I love seeing when people like this just get totally opened up and start reaching their full potential, because not only does it change his life, but it changes everybody's life that he interacts with. Because when you go through life and you demonstrate this vibe, this energy, you give everybody around you unconsciously permission to be the same way. And notice as I go through the email, he points out several other things, how this affects him in his life and his social circle in a positive way. For example, it only took me a few days to go from the shy, geeky guy in my friend group to the stud who ran the damn thing. My best friend even commented out of the blue, "So you run the squad now, huh?" 3% man do it better. It was just an observation on his part, but my behavior has changed so drastically that even he noticed it. I found you after a breakup in the summer of 2018. I left her, got scared, and tried to get her back. She wouldn't take me back, and I couldn't figure out why, because she'd been so heartbroken when I left a month earlier. I finally decided I had to do something when I went 2 full nights without sleep, just sitting through waves of panic attacks. This is not who I am. I need to fix this. I found your videos on YouTube and binge watched them. I work construction with my dad, and it's really laid-back work environment, so it was perfect. I got your book on Audible, and I put it in my headphones and listened to it while I worked. I could get through the book in about 2 to 3 days. I did that over and over for a couple of months. I go through it once every couple of months now for a refresher. This is a guy who is serious about his success, and that's why he's getting these great fucking results. He now is the leader in his peer group, and everybody wants to follow his example. I think it was Sun Tzu said, a leader leads by example, not by force. I've heard you and Tony Robbins talk about how people do more to avoid pain than to gain pleasure. I never used to go out of my comfort zone. I didn't speak unless spoken to, and was just super unsure of myself. It is now physically sickening and painful to be shy and awkward because I literally cannot allow myself to step out of my center. It's too painful not to be masculine. This is your natural state. This is what is so beautiful. When you apply these things in here, it feels natural. It doesn't feel like you're trying to fake anything. You're just being what a man is supposed to be, what the Creator designed you to be. This is already in your heart. You already embody this. You just have to start expressing this in the ways I talk about in the book, and it feels natural. That's why you see such radical changes in people and these kind of great success stories when people start embodying these things. The benefit I'm most excited about, though, is how I've been able to help my mom. My dad is a weak man. It was a loveless marriage. It's good to know why I was so screwed up. She finally left him last year, and I went from hating her to understanding and sympathizing with her. She got involved with another man who was very masculine, and things went south. She's having a hard time, and I have been her sole confidant through everything because of what I now understand. It feels so good to be there for someone who would otherwise have no one, and that is miserable. So thank you on behalf of myself and my mother. How fucking awesome is that? I mean, that's fucking beautiful. Thanks for sharing that, dude. So if you have a challenge, whether it's your personal life, your professional life, and you'd like to get the help of yours truly, you can book a coaching session with me by going to my website, understandingrelationships.com. Click the products tab at the top of your screen on any page and book a coaching session. And until next time, I will talk to you soon.